I got a new razor. Doesn't really seem to shave off the stubble on my face, but it certainly gets the skin pretty good. But that's not what I want to talk about. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and I'm trying something new here. I'm calling this segment Durbin Talks About, but really it's about talking about this with you. So I kind of got this little topic on my head. It's movie related, and I'm going to talk about it. And then the comments are completely open because I'd love to have a conversation with you about this in the comments. So I'm looking forward to that, and let me know what you think of this. So for this first Durbin Talks About, I thought I'd talk about why do we love superheroes? Because we do, don't we? I mean, come on, Batman vs. Superman came out, and all the internet exploded with hate for it, and it seems like no matter where you look, nobody loves it, but it did pretty good in the box office. People went to see it. With Suicide Squad, I don't know, some people saying they love it, some people saying they hate it, but it did pretty good in the box office. So it seems even when the internet is exploding with hate for a superhero movie, it's still making a lot of money because all those people who say they hate it, they're still going to go see it. And I'm not knocking that. That's me. I mean, sometimes I feel like I know I'm going to dislike the movie. I don't care. It's a superhero movie. I'm in line. So what I want to talk about is why is that? I mean, what is it that we love so much about superhero movies that we'll go see the third reboot of Spider-Man and not even care? Why is it that we will watch Bruce Wayne's parents die hundreds of times over and over again, even though we say we're tired of that origin story, but we'll still go to the theater? What is it about superheroes that we love and that draws us in? And I think it's because superheroes, no matter how cartoony or how cheesy they can be or whatever their costumes are, it's what the superhero represents. It's what the genre represents that I think really continues to bring us back again and again and again. And as I was doing some reading online, I was actually kind of excited because when I went to read online, a lot of the stuff I read was stuff that I had decided I was already going to talk about. Made me feel just slightly smarter than I am. I was like, yeah! Go Durbin! And one of the things that I came across that I thought was actually really good, they were talking about 3 of like the real origin story type things about superheroes that we can find relatable. One of them is trauma. I think that's true. Destiny. Yeah, that one's a little harder to relate to, but there's something about destiny that I think we can all relate to. And then the last thing is chance. And I think all of us can relate to heroes on those levels. So first, let's look at trauma. That's kind of the easy one. And there's so many superheroes that fit under this category of trauma, but I'm going to pick Batman and Iron Man as kind of my 2 big examples to look at for trauma because both those heroes were born out of trauma. And I don't know about you, but like when I look at Tony Stark, for instance, the thing that really intrigues me about his character, and I'm looking at the MCU, so I'm looking at the first Iron Man movie and what drives him to be Iron Man. The trauma is he gets kidnapped, and he's held prisoner in a cave. He's being held hostage until he builds them the Jericho missile. And part of the trauma is not just being kidnapped, but finding out that these guys had gotten hold of his legacy, and they were using his legacy to kill innocents. So his legacy is totally tarnished because, I mean, he just can't accept this. He found some good within him that maybe he buried down and forgot was there. But when he saw that, he's just like, this has got to change. And so that's what he does. And I like that when he gets out of the cave, he doesn't succumb to a victim mentality or anything like that, but he chooses to rise above. And what I like about it is you see there's a struggle for him to rise above. And in 3 movies, you see a struggle. The one thing about Iron Man 2 that I had as a negative, it was very much like Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1, we watched him deal with alcoholism. Iron Man 2, we watched him deal with alcoholism. Iron Man 1, we watched him go through an identity crisis. Iron Man 2, we watched him go through an identity crisis. Sometimes watching a story like that repeat gets kind of old, but there is a certain realism to it, isn't there? Yeah, we could beat our demons one day, but does that mean they vanished? So here is Tony Stark continuously battling his demons, and I think that's something that we can relate to. He's battling the demon of alcoholism. Even when he finds who he is through Iron Man, he's still battling what does that really mean to be Iron Man. I mean, that goes all the way through Civil War with, okay, do we sign these accords or do we not? I mean, I think it's a very real and very human struggle. But through it all, you have this picture of this guy using his billions and wealth, and instead of using it for selfishness now, he's laid that down and he's using it to serve. He's built a suit not to be a weapon for the military or anything like that, but as a suit for him to do good for the world. And I think there's something on that level that we can relate to. So here's this hero, and he has his struggles, and we watch him struggle. But at the same time, we see him be the Iron Man, and it's just awesome. And so we have that sense of, it's gonna be okay, man, but we can relate to those struggles as we watch him fight to overcome, and as we watch him indeed be a hero. Same kind of thing with Batman. Here's a guy dealing with real rage issues who, as a child, watched his parents murdered in front of him. And so I liked Batman Begins with Christian Bale and directed by Christopher Nolan because I liked that take because, number one, it was a Batman who didn't kill. So we got to watch him go through that moral conundrum through all three movies. Like, he is not a killer, and that's not why he does this. But what I liked about Batman Begins was his struggle of vengeance versus justice. In the beginning, it was no struggle. It was vengeance all the way he was going for. Till Rachel freaking slapped him in the face, and she's like, no! No! He had a bit of a wake-up call. He traveled the world. He studied through the League of Shadows. I keep wanting to call it the League of Assassins because of the Arrowverse. But he studied there, and so he began to learn what it means to not be a criminal, to really fight for justice over vengeance. And so we still watch him deal with rage. We still watch him deal with anger and that hurt and that trauma. Again, we relate to that, but we're watching him not succumb to it. And I think there's something about that that is just extremely attractive to us. On top of the fact that, yeah, both Iron Man and Batman, they're super smart, they're billionaires, and they got awesome gadgets. That in itself is a huge thing that draws. The next thing is destiny, and I think destiny's a little bit harder to relate to, but not that much harder. For instance, Superman is the main character I see in this whole scheme of destiny. He was born not of this earth, so he's in this world, but he is not of it. And I think there's that part where we can relate to that, because even when you're watching Superman 1 with Christopher Reeve, you see he's got a struggle in high school. He's struggling to belong. He's struggling to figure out who he is. You see that a lot in Smallville, especially seasons 1 through 5, where it's his struggle to figure out his place in the world. And can't we all relate to that? Don't we all have things that we deal with and then we think we're alone? And so we don't talk about those things we're dealing with. And here's Clark, who can't tell anybody that he's superpowered, who can't tell his secret to anybody, so he's dealing with it alone. I think there's something about it that is very relating there. But he has a destiny. Like, the powers that he was born with, it's a calling, and he feels that call. And he feels that call all his life until, I don't know, depending on which version you want to watch, Man of Steel where Zod shows up, or Superman 1 with Christopher Reeve where Lois Lane in the helicopter falls, whatever it is, that moment that calling shows up, he steps into his destiny and he accepts that role. And I think, really, if we're all honest with ourselves, at one point or another, I feel like we've all, I know I felt like I've had a sense of destiny, and I've had that sense of I want to step out in it, and I want to walk in it. And the thing about Superman is, he's the Boy Scout. And I think that's what makes him the most unrelatable, because he's really altogether good. And sometimes it's hard to relate to, because he doesn't have the Tony Stark struggles, or the Bruce Wayne struggles, or things like that. I mean, he's like a totally good character. But at the same time, I think he's the character that we kind of want to aspire to be. And so when we do things like Batman v Superman and we darken Superman so much, I think we lose something there, because they're darkening Superman to try to make him more relatable on that human level. But I think what we need to do is not darken him, but leave him in the light, because he's a hero of the light. He might be unrelatable in, daily struggles with life and things like that, because he's very moral, things are very black and white, and maybe we do find that unrelatable. But what I think is the appeal of Superman, at least for me, is that sense of destiny. And that sense of he's got these godlike powers, but he doesn't use them to be a god to mankind. He uses them to lay his life down and to serve. And where that really speaks to me is as a Christian in my daily walk with Christ, that speaks to me, because he's a hero who has to spend time in the light. And as he absorbs the light, it manifests in him as powers that he uses unselfishly to help mankind. And I just feel like that's an example of where I should be in my walk with Christ. And so, to me, that's a level where I really relate to him. And so there's I think all of us can find something in that where we really relate. As much as people may not have liked Batman vs. Superman or Man of Steel or whatever, Superman has still been around for 75 plus years, and he's not going away anytime soon. There is something about that calls to us. And I think if I was to take a stab at it, it's that sense of destiny. I'm curious as to what you think. The last thing is chance. I think chance is what we can all really truly relate to, because you got Peter Parker, who happened to be in the right place at the right time, or maybe the wrong place at the wrong time, and got bit by a radioactive spider and becomes Spider-Man. Or maybe Hal Jordan, who got chosen by chance to be a Green Lantern. There are billions and millions, are not what makes them super. They weren't born with powers and they don't have that great destiny, but they get bestowed on them or they get chosen, and then they have a choice of how they're going to use those abilities. And I think it's one of the reasons Spider-Man, like, we don't mind seeing yet another reboot of Spider-Man. Maybe we're tired of constantly reboots, and maybe we're tired of origin stories, but the character we don't tire of, because he could be you. He could be me. He becomes who he is by chance, and then it becomes his choices of what he's going to do with that. The thing about Spider-Man that used to annoy me was, like, he just sometimes is an annoying, whiny little kid. But then you got to understand, he's a kid who had these amazing powers bestowed on him, and he's trying to figure out how to live his life. Like, he's using the power selfishly until his Uncle Ben gets killed. So then you get a little trauma mixed in there, and then he turns that around and starts using his powers for good. But, you know, wherever he's at a constant learning curve. So he got these abilities by chance. Every day he's learning something completely different about it. And if I was going to be honest, I can relate to that. I did not like the first iteration of Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi ones. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love them, but for whatever reason, they didn't appeal to me. But there was something deeper about the character that did. And so when they rebooted it again with Andrew Garfield, I enjoyed those movies. And now that we have it again with Tom Holland, I can't wait for those movies. So, like, even when we hit iterations we don't like, we all get excited when a whole new iteration is going to come out because of that thing that is relatable in there. So, I don't know. That is my talking about superheroes. That I think that no matter where you go and you look into a superhero story, whether they're origin or anywhere in there, and any one of these heroes can fall anywhere on this spectrum, but there's always just something about it that is beyond the cool gadgets and toys, that is beyond the millions of dollars, that is beyond the spandex and the costumes, that is beyond the exaggerated superpowers, beyond the hokiness, and beyond bad movies. There's something that lies deeper that continues to call to us. So, I don't know. There were some of my thoughts and opinions on that, but I want to talk about it with you, and I would love to hear what are your thoughts on why superheroes just so appeal to us. While you're there, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and make sure to hit that subscribe button, become a Durbanian, and be on top of the new videos coming out here. Like tomorrow, my second Durban Experiences is coming out. I'm so excited about it. Worked hard on this video, drove 8 hours to Northern California because just did the reading way too much into Contact. We got Arrival coming out here this week. I thought it'd be really fun to go to the Hat Creek Radio Observatory in Hat Creek, California. 8-hour journey north. That was really fun. And talk to John Richard, Senior Software Engineer for the SETI Institute, and we talk about what is it really like to search for extraterrestrial life, to find ET. That's hitting tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that, so hit that subscribe button. I'm Durbin. Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.